Hey everyone, my name is David Dunbar, or the Theme Park Evangelist. It's hard to believe it is already November. Oh my word. That is absolutely craziness. And also, what's also crazy? This week, I went and bought myself a Apple Watch Series 5. Now, you guys are going to probably laugh at this, and it's not that I didn't want this color. It's called I just wanted an Apple Watch, and it's not like I can't get other straps for it. And actually, Katie has a couple of them that would actually fit this Apple Watch. But anyway, I actually bought this for $100 on a Facebook group called Answers in Genesis Family and Friends. It's literally a private group. It's not like anybody can just enter it. You have to either know an Answers in Genesis employee, work for the Answers in Genesis, and then on top of that, they ask you a couple of other questions, and it is heavily moderated every single day. But anyway, I absolutely love the group. People are always trying to sell stuff on there cheaply to people that work at the Creation Museum, the Ark Encounter, the Warehouse, and actually that's how I got that smartwatch, believe it or not. So, very happy about that. Before I get into today's topic, I just wanted to let everybody know that, as crazy as it is, I am taking a breather, so to speak, not from YouTubing, but from, how should I put this? YouTubing out in public. And you might ask, why is that? So, November is another one of those slower kind of months up here and up north, where there's not a lot going on, if that makes any sense, at least the first few weeks of November. So I'm using this opportunity to go back to doing some of my at-home vlogs. I actually enjoy doing these because not only does it give me the chance to sleep in and get stuff done around the house, but also gives me a chance to share stuff with you guys that I don't usually get to talk about when I'm out in public. Do these videos get a lot of views? Not normally, no. I mean, on average, I would say 50 or less. But still, I have people watching it, and sometimes I even get subscribers from these, which are great. And I can't complain about that. But it's just not like this is a permanent thing or anything. And for those of you who don't know, I am trying to cut back on my costs, if that makes any sense. So, one of the ways I'm going about doing that is I'm not investing as much money into, like, fun stuff. And the Apple Watch was not necessary item. I was willing to do it because it was nice to have, but otherwise I don't really planning on spending a whole lot of money in the near future on like annual passes or anything to that nature. So that's more or less what I was getting at. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into today's topic. So I've been covering this YouTube series called How I Met Katie. Katie is my soon-to-be fiance. Actually, we're getting engaged in just a few weeks this month, for crying out loud. And if that's not crazy enough, I turned 30, the big 30, in just 9 days. I'm just like, what? So, to help everybody kind of know where exactly I am with this YouTube series. So I started the YouTube series about a few weeks ago, and I started all the way back to when I first met her back in August of 2021, and I'm slowly but surely bringing everybody to the present where we are now in November of 2023. So I basically am trying to tell everybody through storytelling how I went from being coworkers with Katie, or being coworker with Katie, to soon-to-be fiance. And that's the whole point of the YouTube video. So the next topic is going to be, what was it like to work with her? Because I went from culinary to guest services. And that's actually what I'm going to be talking about next. Now, I'm going to take a quick breather, but thankfully my laptop has a pause button when I record videos, and I am going to go do some laundry, and I will be right back. Alright, I'm officially back. So, more or less, to kind of re-summarize and then go transition to March of 2022, I was in the process of transferring from culinary to guest services. Now, my boss at the time, he was like, "No, David, I don't want you transferring at all," because at the time he was working with me and he really wanted to help me grow. But as soon as he made the decision to become the new executive chef of Answers in Genesis, more or less, he said that I could go. And I was like, okay. And I worked things out. It took a lot of work, but I made things work. I was able to go ahead and transfer to guest services. So my very first official day with guest services, and I'm still with guest services, just not at the Ark anymore, I'm with the museum, was Sunday, March 13th, 2022. And I come in, and I'm so excited. I come in the answer center, and I got a little loud. Thankfully, it was a Sunday, like I mentioned. So back then, we used to be open on Sundays every single week. Due to a lot of reasons, Answers in Genesis decided to stay closed on Sundays except during the summer. And at least my department, we're required to work a maximum, of 8 Sundays a summer, which isn't bad. And honestly, I don't really do a whole lot during the summer months. This year was really unusual for me to travel out of town. I mean, Christmas, I've gone out of town twice, and I'm ready to actually just stay home for a change. And I'm very excited about staying home for Christmas for once. And summer is the same way. I don't usually travel during the summer, but this year I did. So next year, I'm looking to stay home again because I usually travel during off-season, not on-season, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So, more or less, I was put on something called a lobby greeter. So this employee was responsible for greeting guests coming off the buses, and this person could go into the auditorium and count guests that are in there for the different shows, including our 40 Days and 40 Nights of Gospel Music, which at the Ark is actually all 40 days, believe it or not. And eventually I did start to work with Katie. So Katie would always come to the Answer Center for morning meeting. That's actually where the Ark and the Answer Center staff would meet first thing in the morning. And then the Ark staff would go towards the Ark. The Answer Center staff would stay right there. And most of the time, I was very fortunate. I got to go on the all-call radio, and I got to do morning announcements, which I thought was really neat. At first, they were like, we don't know, but once they discovered how good I was, they were like, yeah, sure, why not? So I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. So, yeah, it was really neat to get on the all-call radio and do that all the time. And there was just one day I remember working over at the Ark, because the majority of April, like literally within a month of starting with guest services, they put me over at Deck 1 Greeter. So for the longest time, guest services did something called Deck 1 Rentals. So what you would do was, when you got into the actual Ark, if you didn't want to, or didn't see, for that matter, that they rented out scooters, wheelchairs, strollers, whatnot, at the Answer Center, you had another choice once you got into the Ark. And that's what that person did. Well, they decided to do away with that back in late March of last year, and I was the first person out of everybody, I know the new guy, right, to work the new position. So they called it Deck 1 Greeter. They had no idea how it worked. They had no idea what, the Deck 1 Greeter was going to be doing. Nothing. I had to figure it out on my own. And Katie had a lot of ideas of what I was supposed to be doing. So Katie was very bossy back then. I mean, big time. Don't get me wrong, she could still be bossy towards me, but nowhere to the extent that she was back then. And it got me a little hot under the collar. And then, back then, she was a lot more rebellious than she is now. And I think a lot of that has to do with something that happened to her last October between her and Answers in Genesis that I cannot speak about. That unfortunately has traumatized her to the point where she always wants to act, all good all the time. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I would say for the most part she acts a lot better than she used to. And I still see some rebelliousness in her. I still see some of her old self in her. But I've definitely seen a huge change since last October, if that says anything. So, we're working on the arc together this one day, and it was near the end of the day, and I'm staying there on deck 1. I'm hanging out over by deck 1 snacks, and I saw Katie sneak down from, I don't even remember what it was, deck 2 or deck 3, and she said, "I just need a drink," and I didn't think much about it, but there was like another time that she was just nagging at me about like how I should be doing my job. This was the only time, believe it or not, I have ever ratted out my own girlfriend. And this was before I even knew I was going to be dating her. So I went up to the managers in private and I just made a comment about her, just said that what I observed, and she got in trouble for it. She's forgiven me by now, of course, and I don't feel guilty about it. But it's just like, it makes me, wonder, like, all this time later, why would I do that to my own girlfriend? But I never even knew I was going to be dating her. I mean, I always considered it, strongly considered it. I never knew it was going to happen. I never knew when it was going to happen, for that matter. I always prayed and hoped it would happen. But, I mean, April, I was just like, I don't know. And April, I noticed that she was really starting to seem interested in me. Like, sometimes I would just be standing there right where she wanted me to. It's funny how much nicer she started being to me after I started doing what she wanted. And I was just suddenly hearing my name being called. And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, I don't see anybody. There's nobody to my left. There's nobody to my right. There's nobody behind me. Because I was standing kind of between the ramps, so you're standing like right there. I was standing right there in the middle. And finally I decided I'm going to look up. And sure enough, there was Katie. She had much shorter hair back then, but she would literally, every so often, be standing at the deck 3 ramp, and she would be waiting for no guest to be there, and then she would walk over to a ledge where you could look down all the way to deck 1, and she'd call my name, and she would wave at me, and then she would giggle. Well, after this kept going on and on for a few weeks, I started to think, I wonder if she likes me. I have a good feeling she does. Well, May came, and there was an unfortunate incident that kept me from going to see my grandmother that summer. So my dad had planned on going to celebrate his mother's birthday that May, and he took my brother with me, and I was supposed to go too. Well, they decided to put me at deck 3 greeter, which is where she was, believe it or not, during the homeschool conference. Don't get me wrong, I loved being up there because I got to see the programs department almost every single day. And this was back then when my good friend Kyle Morris, I didn't really want to say his last name, but it doesn't really matter, was still working for Answers in Genesis. He has another job now, and he absolutely loves it. And I'm not going to say why he works for that job. Let's just say that, circumstances happen. Now he has another job. So, I'm just standing there, and every so often I would see him doing a tour, and I would see one of their speakers, Dr. Tim Chafee, and he would be with them as well, and I used to talk to him quite a bit. Actually, Dr. Tim Chafee and I were much closer back when I used to work at the Ark. Ever since I went to the museum, we've been kind of become distant. It's unfortunate. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't see him as much as I used to. But that doesn't mean he doesn't like me anymore. It's just like, I don't really associate with you like I used to, so I don't really know what to say to you, because he's a primary speaker for the Ark. And I get that, and I fully respect that. So, I just got so sick that week. I got a really bad stomach virus. I remember one day I got sent home early, and that's unusual for me. I don't go home early all that often, I'll be honest with you. And I managed to force myself to come in on a Friday, like near the end of the conference, which was ironically the same day I was supposed to be out of town. It was a very easy shift. I wasn't feeling 100%, but I wasn't feeling bad enough I couldn't work either. So I don't remember if it's a Friday or Saturday. It doesn't matter. I remember I spent the majority of the day with my close friend Caitlin Aubrey, and I've shown her on my YouTube channel, by the way. And I finally went to the Answer Center that evening. So they had Kirk Cameron from some of the movies like Fireproof there that night. And I counted almost 2,000 people. I was like, oh my word, that kind of thing. But what really helped me to know that Katie was interested in me. So it was around this time my brother was planning his 25th birthday. And my brother was still living in Ohio at the time, and he wanted to go over the Newport Aquarium for his birthday. And I don't know what came into my mind, but I started thinking about inviting my own friends. I was like, well, Jonathan is inviting his friends. Why shouldn't I be allowed to invite mine? That's just how I felt at the time. And I just started thinking, like, who could I invite? And just Katie was the very first person that God put in my mind. And God did this for a reason. I know he did. And I was like, Katie, I never thought about her. I was like, that's kind of a strange person to come into my mind all of a sudden, but I'll take it. And instead of just pushing it out of my mind quickly, I actually contemplated. I was like, she has been seeming more interested in me lately. It doesn't hurt. But I was also scared. I'll be honest, I was scared. I went to Caitlin at our coffee, and I'm like, oh no, Caitlin, I don't know what to do. Like, what if she says no? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I'm too scared, but I know I got to do this. And Caitlin's like, calm down. It doesn't hurt for you to ask. And I was told by a former close friend of mine, Tristan, and he's been on a couple of my YouTube videos, if I'm not mistaken. And I promise I'm only saying good things about him. That's it. So I hope he doesn't think I'm saying anything bad. He came to check on me quite a bit at the at Deck 3 Snacks when I was in culinary. And he did that not just because he had to, but because he wanted to. He wanted to go see how Double D was doing. So that's my initials, David Dunbar. So anyway, he would see Katie constantly trying to avoid me, and he started putting two and two together, and he was like, I wonder if she likes him or not. And he even mentioned to me, and I'm like, Katie? Her? Interested in me? Yeah, right. I mean, that was literally my reaction at the time, but I finally summed up the courage. I was like, you know what? She says no, she says no. If she says yes, she says yes. I was like, all right, God, help me get through this. So I walked up to her one day. Now, she denies this, but this is what I remember. And I said to her, so my brother is going to the Newport Aquarium for his birthday, and he's invited some of his friends, including myself. And I was wondering if you would like to go with me to the new Parkwarium. She said to me, if I remember correctly, let me get back to you on that. I'm going to ask my mother, and I'll try to let you know by tomorrow. And I was like, okay, cool. So she went to her mother that night, and she's like, David just asked me out. What should I say? What should I say? I'm serious. I actually asked her about this. And her mother said, oh, he asked you out. Then go for it. What do you have to lose? And Katie's like, okay. So she comes to me the next day, and this is exactly what she said to me. So I talked to my mom about it, and she said yes. Even though she denies it, that's what she said. So we literally started jumping up and down at the same time. Okay, maybe not her, but I did. I was like, yay! Because I really wanted her to go, and I think I weirded her out a little bit at the time. Now, if you ask her how she would react if she saw me jumping up and down in front of her now, she would be like, oh, that's just David being David. But at the time, she was like, okay, but he's cute, so I don't mind. So next thing I knew, I was like, I'm bringing a girl with me, and I had nobody else that was going with me, believe it or not. And I was like, well, at least I have one person. And because I like to leave people on cliffhangers, the next chapter is just going to be on the first date, and that's it. And I want you guys to make sure you come back and hear how my first date with Katie went, because this one is not just adorable, it's also what started the entire relationship. It's why we are where we are today, why I'm literally going to be proposing to her in 3 weeks from tomorrow. Let's just go with that, because I'm like, it's okay, so 22 days. So 22 days are 3 weeks from tomorrow. Because we're officially 3 weeks from Thanksgiving, believe it or not. I don't know if you've noticed, but yeah, we are. And I'm just like, oh my. When I used to work at Publix, before COVID anyway, the first few weeks in November were always intense. Because it was just the whole gear up, getting ready for Thanksgiving, and here we are post-COVID. At least down in Florida, they ain't doing well. Up here, different story. Do I know why? No. I really believe God pulled us out of Florida when he did, for a reason, and I am forever thankful for it. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next vlog. Katie should be here any minute. She unfortunately got sent home early again. It's not because she's bad at her job. It's not because they can't stand her. Actually, she's one of their better employees. It's called... We're just that slow at the museum right now. But you know what? Come back 3 weeks from tomorrow. Well, the Christmas lights up at the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, for that matter. And they're free. And if you're a local resident, free parking too. So definitely want to make sure you come back. I'm going to make sure I post that on my Facebook page. Facebook.com/The Theme Park Evangelist. I'll see you guys in the next vlog. And always remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.